Just lie down. Just go down. Go down. Go down.
Wow. It's a traumatizing video. Of course, social media was awash with such a video, and sometimes you ask yourself, do these things happen in Ugandan schools? But yes, they are Ugandan schools. Now, I don't know which teacher was brave enough to record this, but now the question is, recording it for who? Instead of saving this child. We've just, of course, recently, we also saw a story where a young girl burnt herself simply because parents took her to a single-sex school, yet she wanted a mixed school. Now, there is a lot that happens. Some time back, we saw also a report of a student who committed suicide. He took rat poison simply because I hear the parents had forced him to bathe. We don't know how they forced him. We don't know which kind of forcing that leads you to that. But I mean, there is a lot that is happening in schools today in the name of punishing students. We want to understand what this punishment is. What are the recommended ways? Sometimes we ask government, where are you? Because such things are really hard. They are so hard. Just imagine, just think about the mental well-being of this young man. Someone was telling me that I thought that there is a unit in the course of education where teachers are taught how to beat. And of course, we remember all of us while we are still in school, when a teacher would come with a bunch of sticks, and then you would know that is a black man, like we used to call it in our school. But of course, we had ways of finding ways of helping ourselves out. You get sponge, you put on like 5 shots inside and all those things. But I mean, why all this? Is this the only way to punish a learner? Anyway, we want to explore the various ways in which we can help the child's behavior, but also mind about their mental well-being, because it is really very, very important. Now with us is Mr. Cheune Andrew. He has been away for some time, but we are glad he's here with us, and we are delighted to have you this evening.
Thank you so much. A good evening, all our viewers out there. Thank you so much for sparing a minute, especially on a Monday, where we share issues that really turn out to be contagious, that affect all the school holders, the parents, and all the other stakeholders, including our own children. So I really thank you so much. I've been away for a while, but I'm back in action, especially when it comes to these very, very serious issues in our schools.
We are just a few days into the first term of 2025, but the reports we get so far are alarming, even before we are a month old in the term. What do you think is the cause of some of these, what are some of the underlying causes of these that are what we can call a misbehavior among learners in school, especially in such a time?
Yeah, the causes are quite many. One, children are from holidays. There is a lifestyle they are used to, say freedom, that they have enjoyed for the last 2 months while at home. Maybe at times parents don't a lot of pressure. They are free to sleep till when they please and they feel they should wake up, sometimes past 10. They are not used to this daily school routine. So now when they get back to school, and school already has its own designed system and schedule or timetable, there is already that kind of challenge, trying to adjust. Two, the environments and the groups children interact with while in the holidays for the 2 months. You must recall that even during COVID time, for the many years or months children spent home, on returning back to school, we faced a number of challenges. Simply because at home they were totally used to a different lifestyle. Now as they get back into this so-called organized system in a school setting, automatically the deviation and the deviant behaviors come in. But I think the most important thing is, how do we handle different cases as they arise?
Because that is really very, very important. And we all think that beating is the sole solution to this. We don't want to know, in the video that we watched as we were beginning the show, we might not be interested in knowing what the child did. But you see a teacher also running away from a fellow teacher's slap. But think about now the child who is absorbing this. And you see, I think that they were holding wires, not even sticks. 3 of them come against one child as if he's a rebel. I mean, what are some of the strategies that we can use to manage the students' behavior?
Oh yes, first of all, I wish to apologize, I think, to the entire nation and to the teaching fraternity that such a thing happened. It is very unprofessional. We really condemn it in the strict sense. Young teachers, because I saw the teachers punishing, these are young teachers punishing a very young man in such unprofessional way. This is indeed regrettable, and as educationists, we are really apologizing, and we really feel all the other teachers in the world or in the country should, I think, be trained on how best to punish. It all takes us back to the question of the day: punishments. Punishments are not only in schools, right from home, in any given society. Let it be even at our workplaces. We can be punished when we deviate from the designed code of conduct. But punishments are designed not to kill, but to inculcate in a sense that pushes you back to the track. Similarly, we have seen cases in home settings where parents ban their own children. A couple of days ago, there is still something that made several rounds on social media: a parent wrapping up the child in a sack over some small theft, and that was equally abnormal. We have had parents banning their own children. Now, when it comes to even a school setting where we are expected to even be more knowledgeable on how to handle, and in a case we feel it is indeed within our control to inculcate discipline, because a school setting or a school generally is not only to teach physics, math, biology, as people may think, but it is also to inculcate, to impart morals, good behavior in our children. But the question goes back to how this should be done. You sarcastically made a statement that there is a course unit in schools or in the training institutions.
I have a friend who told me that.
No, that is absolutely wrong. That has never existed. There is no course unit purely training teachers on how to cane. These are teachers who do it the wrong way, who frustrate, who nurse their frustrations on the children. If I'm to share with the whole nation why I joined education, it was purely to change this mentality. During our days many years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we could not even differentiate between respecting and fearing a teacher. Otherwise, meeting a teacher meant run, take off. irrespective of whether you're in a school setting or even in the villages, the moment you meet a teacher, because teachers were known for only beating, which was very wrong. And I later realized it is very possible to teach a friend. And it is on that note, because I even still have visible scars because of canes over a few mathematical concepts that could not easily be grasped. Even over the genetical handwriting, you would be beaten to improve it. Everything was looked at with only one solution, beating, which made very many children to date hate schools.
Yeah.
Many people up to now in any given society, they still fear sitting in front.
Yeah.
You tell people, let it even be church setting. You still find people concentrated at the back. Why? Culturally, naturally, they fear sitting in front, because back then sitting in front would mean every question would basically be for those seated in front, and failure to answer would mean punishment. Now, I want to bring it back to the teachers, especially the young teachers. It is true in a school setting, it's part of our noble cause to punish. But that was not punishing. I think that was murder. What we have just seen, you cannot say that was punishing. First of all, in punishing a child, the following should be looked at. 1, what is the nature of the offense? The nature of the offense should match the nature of the punishment. Step number 1. 2, the age bracket of the one who has committed an offense. For example, a senior 1 has dodged a lesson. This is a senior 1. Look at that age and size. You may not punish the same way like a senior 6, just putting in the factor of the age bracket. The punishment should be designed suiting even the age range. The boy we have just seen in the video, the little I've tried to gather, was a senior 2 boy who had escaped. Yes, the boy may look a little taller than, but he was just a senior 2 boy. We have not even yet gone into the details of why he escaped, but that kind of punishment is suitable for a thief, not a student. Step number 3, the sex of the child. But this is very sensitive. The way we punish a girl child is not the way we punish a boy child. And this draws so many questions. People perceive it with mixed feelings. But naturally, the females are a weaker sex compared to the males. That does not then translate that when we are handling girls, we should just be too soft, and maybe when we get to the boys, we become a little harder. No. But that factor should equally be put in consideration.
Okay.
I have seen cases, I've talked to teachers who cane girls and you find all the thighs are full of scars. This is a female who is later going to be married. Which kind of a man will then take on to a girl child or a woman with scars all over the thighs? These are the sensitive parts, rather questions we must have in the mind. Step number 3 or 4. We have talked about the age range, the nature of the offense. Then, who should punish? When you're the one offended, you're not the one to punish. Because that means you'll punish with anger, and you'll not be now objective in your punishments. So we have always advised the teachers, once you're the one offended, report off the case to other authorities, who should then punish when they are sober and emotionally steady. But if it's you who has been insulted by the child and you want to preside over your own case, then that means you're bound to make such mistakes they were making, because you still have all the anger. Then, when do we punish?
Before we get into when do we punish, we know that the Ministry of Education and Sports is totally against corporal punishments. But I think this is part of an example of the corporal punishments, but there are even more. So when you talk about punishment, I think we also need to differentiate between the corporal punishments and
we shall go to later the forms of punishments. I don't want society and teachers to imagine the only form of punishment, the only style of punishing a child is use of a cane. That is also wrong. There are 1,000 punishments we are meant to design. Before I really get into that, I was still showing the modes or the criteria in punishing, right from the age range, the nature of the offense,
up to
right?
when.
Who should then punish? And when do we punish? So you don't punish a child when you're still angry. When you look at the teachers we have just seen, they were extremely angry. That is justified by the nature of the slap. The moment you accompany it with a slap, then you are no longer punishing. You're rather expressing your emotions or the fight. You're exactly fighting. The child, it is no longer a question. You have just seen the slap. It is no longer a question of punishing a child who escaped. But it means, or it shows, that you still have some funny grudges with the child. So we go to the nature of punishments. It does not mean every time the child commits an offense, it should be chiboko. By the way, even when you look at use of a cane, the size of the cane matters.
This is a wire.
I've actually seen, I don't know whether these were wires or...
No, when you look closely, they are wires.
Now that's why I quickly concluded that this was now murder. This was just a battlefield.
What he's holding. It is a wire.
So, you cannot use a wire on a child. By the way, a wire would perhaps be ideal to a thief. But even a thief, once someone has just stolen a cork, why would you use such? Anyway, not going into those details, but even the nature of the cane matters. You're caning a child of senior 1, sometimes P3, P4. You're using a very big stick which is meant for maybe a wild animal. Chances are that you can even break their bones by accident. If such a cane landed on the fingers, trust me, they would eventually break. So even the size of the cane matters. But before we go, because the use of a cane should be maybe the last resort. But there are forms of punishments. And what is the whole essence of a punishment? I said a punishment is meant to inculcate sense and discipline. And the child must be able to learn out of the punishment. When designing a punishment, the whole target behind is that there is a lesson that should be learned, a moral lesson. There should even be a skill at the end of the day learned. For example, Mukalazi, you don't want to mop the dormitory. You have always dodged the mopping. You're going to mop this dormitory for the entire week. Now, it is beyond punishing you by saying you're mopping it for the entire week. The whole target behind is that by the end of the week, you should have even learned how to mop. You are dodging peeling. So we are saying these 2 clusters or bunches, it's you to peel them all every day for the next 1 week. You're going to be peeling. My target at the end of it all is that by the end of the week, you have learned how to peel. Mukalazi, you spoke rudely to the teacher. You're going to go to the teacher and apologize. The child should then learn that when I commit an offense, when I offend someone, when I insult someone, by apologizing, I'm bringing back the lost relationship. I'm showing remorsefulness. Now, that is why we punish. It should not be that a punishment leaves you with wounds. A punishment should not break the relationship between a parent and a teacher. By the way, we are only still focusing on this school setting, but we also have teachers, rather parents, punishing severely the children at home. That even at home, the punishment should not break the relationship between a parent and a child, but rather the child should appreciate. You come late to class, I'll tell you, can you run back to the dormitory and come back running very fast? I'm teaching you how to keep time, how to manage your time, and how to walk faster. So punishments can be in various forms. You have failed the exercise. Mukalas, before you go for lunch, repeat those numbers that you failed, and I want you to get them right. Consult all your friends around. I want you to repeat that exercise. You bring a mark it before you go for lunch. I'm slightly postponing your lunch. It appears I'm punishing you by repeating. But by the time I go for lunch, the food will be over. I will design it in such a way that you'll only slightly go late, but you'll not miss lunch. Because the moment you miss lunch, then it is no longer a punishment. The moment the punishment encroaches on your health, it leaves you with wounds, or it even leaves you with some damage, which could either be psychological or physical, then it's no longer a punishment. That's why at times, when we even push it to bigger levels, at times, I'm sorry to say this, disagree with the judges. Someone has committed an offense that you imagine him is minor, and you find imprisoned for 3 years. You look at the nature of the offense and the nature of the punishment, the two do not tally. And at the end of the day, that turns out to be torture. Always the punishment must
it's
match.
where the penal code states.
No, but sometimes these things need to be revised. Mukala, see, you were driving very fast, fine. All right? Okay, you caused, maybe it could have been speed. Yes, we should punish you accordingly. But when someone says 3-4 years in jail, then at the end of the day, you're not learning from your mistake. Instead, you're cursing, you're lamenting, you're speaking, because the punishment and what you have committed are not tallying, are not matching. Now, the other way of punishing, we have looked at all those forms. I can say, kneel down. Maybe, for example, the child was dozing in class. This is a senior one. I've already seen teachers complaining over what we rather call normal indiscipline. There is a school that I know very well. Children wake up as early as 4 a.m. By 4:30, they are all supposed to be in the dormitory. These are children that go to class after prep at around 10:30. By 4:30, they're supposed to be in class. By the time you say they're supposed to be in class at 4:30, they should have woken up at around 3:40. Now, when you find them in class dozing, I found them paraded. We are going to suspend them, pushing them back to their parents. I said, this is wrong. When you wake children up as early as 4:30, do you blame them for dozing at 5? If you even the teacher, by the way, because sometimes we forget that these are also human beings. You slept past 11. By 4, you're supposed to be awake. Like automatically, naturally, by law, you're supposed to be dozing. Now, how would you calm down such? Tell them to instead have a discussion in the morning. If someone is sleeping, you say, go wash your face, run very fast, run 3-4 times around this classroom, so that they sober up.
You talked about kneeling down. You talked about kneeling down, but there's also an issue of kneeling down where a teacher or a parent tells a child, kneel maybe for a distance of about 500 meters, walking by their knees, or sometimes they tell them kneel down and raise your hands up for about 30 minutes. And while they are drawing them down, I mean, the teacher is so harsh on them. Some are even told to carry bricks in their hands.
No, of course, now that turns out to be torture, because we are shifting punishments which are meant for criminals. We are bringing them in a school setting. Moreover, over minor issues. By the way, as children are growing, teachers out there, parents out there, as children are growing, they are meant to make mistakes. It is natural. It's part of growing. It is entirely our duty to shape them. By the way, doing a crime or misbehaving is part of growing. By the way, it is normal.
Let us take a short commercial break. Let us take a short commercial break. When we come back, you're going to explain that in details, because we have people who claim they have never omitted any mistake in their growth life. So we are coming back shortly. Welcome back from that commercial break. Now, you who is watching us, parent, especially parents who are still stuck with their students who are joining senior one, I want to introduce you to St. John's Secondary School, Wakiso, a school that will mold your child into the kind of responsible citizen that you also admire. So you can get to the school located in Namusela along Hoima Road, that is after Wakiso. Yeah, the school is just on the roadside, so you don't need to get a border just in case you're using public transport. But as you're driving your car through Wakiso, then Namusela, you will get to the school. They offer both arts and sciences for both levels, O and A levels, but also the school has a very conducive environment for your child's mind to relax, and their staff is professional. So they are not the kind of teachers we are talking about here who harass other children. Therefore, a parent out there, I want to interest you with St. John's Secondary School, Wakiso. But getting back to our point of discussion, before the break, you had actually told us that omitting errors is
part of growing. It's just normal. It only becomes abnormal when the deviant behaviors are beyond. For example, you cannot say the child was planning to burn the school, had even bought petrol, conniving with a few other colleagues, and you still call that normal. You cannot say this child fought a teacher, boxed the teacher to an extent of even the teacher losing the teeth, and you still call that normal. Or the child abused the teacher in front of the rest. There are those cases. By the way, parents need to understand, and even teachers out there, there are cases that are not supposed to be addressed by even school authorities. A child, for example, attempting to burn the school, that is now beyond what you school managers can handle. The best is hand over to police, because now that is beyond. A child is strangling. There are cases where we have had children coming with knives, especially from a certain part of the country, almost strangling or killing, murdering fellow students. That is now beyond what can be handled in a school setting. And you can still have cases of, say, a senior 6 got with a senior 1 in the toilet. And there are so many other issues of homosexuality in schools. And you feel this cannot be addressed in a school setting, let the children go. Because once we get to forms of punishment, even expulsions are part of punishments. There are cases where the best option, allow the child try another environment. Because sometimes some children get even better by just changing environment. And when the child gets to know, I was chased from the other school because of this, as they are given chance into another school, they are also ready to reform, holding other factors constant. They can reform. Many will confess that the only thing that made me reform was being chased from the other school to another school. So there are various forms of punishments. Involving your parent at school. Mukalazi misbehaved, I'm calling your father. There are children who will automatically be humbled, a mere knowing that now their parents are also getting to know and they are getting involved in the case. The only challenge we get in schools that sometimes we call parents who instead betray us. Because when it comes to punishing, we are supposed to work as a team. You call the parent that your child is found doing this and the other. We feel we should work as a team to fight this habit. And the parent looks at it as if it is very normal, as if there is no crime. You feel betrayed. By the way, that's why...
But for some parents, they'll genuinely say, my child can't do that because they've not seen the child.
By the way, I've always advised parents, the only way you'll ever understand the true character of your child involves teachers. Because children are like a chameleon. Before the parents, just like before our God, we all try to paint even a thief before God. All right? They'll try to paint that holiness. But when they get to school, that is where the only avenue where we see their true characters. That's why many parents have been called to different schools and they get the greatest shock of their life. They are indeed flabbergasted. You are told your child was caught smoking. Your child got involved in such and such a case, and the parent has never heard of that, cannot even believe it, but that is the reality. So when you're called at school, parents, don't begin by fighting and abusing teachers. Let's work together to help the children, because many of these children can be given second chance to become better citizens. Not that every crime the child should be condemned, to be looked at as now a wasted citizen. No, we have agreed misbehavior, conduct is part of growing. Even when it gets to the extreme, many people are out there, they are ministers, they are members of parliament, but if only you can trace their history in school, they will tell you they used to escape, they used to nickname teachers, they used to abuse, they used to do this, escape with the girls. Now, if they were not given chance back in school, perhaps would have lost out powerful brains. By the way, most of the powerful people were at one point back in their school days very, very dangerous people. But the question of the day remains, how do we punish?
Now, still, while we talk about how we punish, because while we talk about how we punish, some people might not be knowing the consequences of some of these punitive approaches to mending a child's behavior. Let us talk about the consequences first, then we shall get back to those other ways of punishing.
Of course, the consequences of these ugly methods of punishing a child. One, the children at times lose interest in the schools. It could even be a parent who severely punishes the child. The child will totally lose the parental love. These are the children you'll find out there. You're told your parent is sick and the child is not bothered. How long do you take to check on your parent? 2-3 years, and the child is not bothered because of how they were raised. One will tell you, our dad used to be so tough. Me, I've never seen love. I was never shown love by my dad or my mother, and therefore they are never bothered. Even when they are told your mother is dead, someone looks at it as normal. Why? At one point in life, they lost out that touch because of heavy punishments. Punishments may not even necessarily be canes. The abuses, these cause psychological torture. The child is going back to school, or the child has misbehaved. The words you shower this child with, we need to embrace guidance and counseling. There are times when you should just talk to the child. By the way, this is also hard to believe, that there are offenses where you only call the child and talk to them without, by the way, with even a very humble tone, not necessarily using a rough tone or abusing. The girl is increasingly taking interest in the other sex, and not necessarily that it begins by abusing, because first of all, developing interest in the opposite sex is also part of growing.
There's this one who burnt herself.
That is how funny
because of the same thing. The parents take her to a single school. She wants to be in a mixed school, but the reason behind is that probably in this particular school she wants, she'll have an opportunity to interact with the boyfriend outside,
and maybe even with the females. The males. Now we need to understand that as these children grow up at a certain age, it is normal, parents, it is normal to develop feelings for the opposite sex, because that is exactly the cycle that we went through. Now that is when we need to embrace guidance and counseling. You guide the child. You're now in senior 3. Boys will begin approaching you. This is how you go about it. Don't give them chance. This will happen. Just like the normal cycle, the child begins menstruating and so many other signs, biological growth. But we need to guide them. Otherwise, when you abuse, you cane. Of course, at a certain point, you may use a tough tone. When you see the child is not picking it or is taking it to another level. They were got in school, they escaped, they slept somewhere, and whatever they did is nasty. There you may now go to another approach. You even physically maybe cane, right? But even when we talk of caning, my point is, how is it done? You cannot say, because this is a senior one, go take a small letter or a cheat from a boyfriend of senior one, I am giving them 15 strokes of the cane. These are they are still normal issues that can be addressed by just talking to these children, all right? So both parents and the teachers, when it comes to punishing, let us be extremely careful. We are still on the consequences.
Yes.
Others have committed suicide, realizing that they can no longer fit in school, neither can they fit at home. At home, parents are saying, either go away or find elsewhere to stay. At school, they have been chased. The only option is to commit suicide. There is a parent, I know the child stole a phone from school. Actually, this phone belonged to a teacher. Of course, out of this love at that age, senior 2, 3, they love almost some of these gadgets and what. The boy only needed to be talked to. The parent said, I cannot keep with the thief. Go away. I don't want you home. The boy slept almost in the forest for 3 days. The boy has nowhere to go. The school has written, go, try elsewhere. At home, the mother is also saying, I can't keep with a thief. But this is the senior 3 boy. So at times we push it to the extreme until I had to come in and I had to talk to the parent. Yes, this has happened. The boy has committed an offense. We are not supporting the boy. But still, chasing the boy away from home is not the best option.
There are 2 slogans that we normally use. One is we are Africans, so our children should be handled the African way in order for them not to be wasted. But also, there is this Lugandan, I don't know whether it's a proverb or what, that impulukutuzami sota zigenda na miggo. And very many people refer or allude to that particular saying each time they are beating children. And they believe that's the only solution to that.
African setting, we are calling it African setting, but I think it's biblical. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Yes, we are not saying we should spare the rod, but how do we use it? Now, the video we have just seen, I think that was now taking it to another level. I said, how many canes do you give a child? Depending on the nature of the offense. We still have teachers who will tell you, I'll give you 20 strokes of a cane. But this is to a senior one because he dodged homework. Or he missed out a lesson. That student could have missed out the lesson because of the nature of the teacher. By the way, teachers, when you find children are missing your lessons, first have self-evaluation. It could be that you are the problem. You are too rough. If I can only recall my teacher of French, that teacher made me hate. By the way, when I just find someone speaking French, that only draws back those ugly memories. I hate French in the strict sense of the word, simply because of my teacher. If I met him today, I don't know if I could really exchange a handshake. The man is teaching a foreign language. Whenever he comes to class, failure to pronounce a certain word, it translates into a slap. Failure to construct a sentence. So all the time the man is coming to class, we are on tension. I still recall my math teacher. Before, if only I had the chance of dodging math as well as before, I would have dodged it. The gift I got from him is a sky I can still show to date because of math concepts. So teachers, when you find children are becoming stubborn, at times they're also trying to fight back, they are dodging your lessons, you need to do self-evaluation. To cut this story short, we need to help young teachers. They enter the profession, there are things that are never taught at universities. The nature of the children we are handling nowadays, or this generation, may not necessarily be our generation, may not be the generation of our parents. There is a lot in the school settings. Children are now, we are almost teaching children who are even more informed on a number of things, who are more exposed, that at times we need to dialogue. We need to do more of dialogue than this physical confrontation. Because out of what you have just seen, it was very possible for that boy to also stand back and box one of the teachers. Now, if the boy boxes back, you begin saying the boy fought a teacher. Therefore, the boy should be suspended. But in reality, the teachers provoked the boy into a fight. At that point, you see the boy has equally admitted, he has accepted his mistake. If he had been given maybe 3, 4. In any case, if you find he has committed that big offense, why don't you involve the parent? Teachers, let's learn how to involve parents. We have agreed it's form of punishment. No student under the sun would love the parent to be invited at school on grounds of these deviant behaviors. So already by involving a parent is in itself a punishment. To avoid there would be negative consequences. Because if that child, for example, collapsed or died, God forbid, you no longer present the case of he escaped. Now the case against the teachers, you killed a student.
We used to think that female teachers were motherly, but I just enjoy seeing this lady running away and, taking cover in their slapping.
No, it
and
actually-
you hear voices of ladies in the background.
This
also
case
trying
scenario is very funny because it means all those who were inside that room had agreed to have this child punished to that level. Otherwise, they would have intervened. And this is a
Because you
wake-up
just see
call.
them look at-
This is a
look
wake-up
at
call
the
to all
others.
the teachers. Some of these children are punished in the staff rooms severely when other teachers are instead watching. There are those who even morale boost.
Yeah.
Kubira Dala,
Yeah.
that boy has always been a problem even in my class. Add in more 4. Another one comes out of the blue. Add more 5 for me. 5 are for me now. The teacher does not even know what the child committed. At the end of the day, the child is given over 30 strokes of the cane. Teachers, let's really be professional. By the way, if you're not ready to be annoyed, if you're not ready to be insulted, if you're not ready to be nicknamed, don't enter the teaching profession. Because this is what is expected. Children will insult you, but how do you react to insults? Never punish. We are trying to advise teachers when you are annoyed, because you'll not do it the right way. Never preside over your own case. If it is me who has insulted Mukalazi, forward me to the disciplinary master, who should also take a serious investigation into the matter. By the way, we forget that children are also human beings with emotions. You may find that child abused the teacher, but when you go into deeper investigation, it's the teacher who provoked the child.
Omukulu tasobya.
That is our African saying, okay? And even you, the head teacher or the teacher in charge, when you're presiding over such a case, you may, yes, cover up the teacher, but having understood that the teacher provoked the child, then you know which appropriate measures. That is where you advise the child, go to the teacher and apologize. All right? And when you find the teacher at that point is not ready to even receive your apology, give it some time. Allow the teacher to calm down. We have been abused before. Even after this talk show, not everyone will perceive my message right. There are those who will perceive it with mixed feelings.
There is
That
even
is
someone
life.
who is abusing you right now.
Yes, even as I speak now, someone is abusing me. We have stood in classes and children abuse us. You tell them, who is doing this? Another one responds in a very funny way. If we were to respond with
They
these
all
laughs
laugh.
and
They keep quiet
abuses.
and laugh.
So let us encourage fairness and consistency in the way we treat children. Let us try as much as possible to be fair. I've always advised the teachers, step number 1, be a parent yourself. Because if these teachers were to be parents, then the question would be, if this was my child, is this how I would have treated the child? Yes, the child has escaped. We thank God the child has come back alive. Now, by caning to that level, I mean, it was too much. I may not have any... Yes, I know teachers at times are insulted. They cane with anger, with this mindset. If this child had gotten a problem, maybe a car knocks the child outside, the parent would have entered school with all this anger. You must produce my child. I gave you my child. So now, you know, there is also that other side that teachers go through. That in case this child gets a problem, parents will come with the police, ready to arrest. So now the teacher begins punishing with that mindset. Such that really nobody ever repeats this mistake. Sometimes they even tell them, say that not even your grandchildren will ever repeat this offense.
But there are also parents who tell teachers to beat this hard.
Yes, a parent will tell you because of anger and maybe what they go through to pay fees and the welfare of the child. But you must also have your senses as a teacher at work. The child is saying, when that boy misbehaves, please cane. Say that he does not repeat that mistake. But should you cane and the boy gets a problem, the other statement made by the parent will no longer be causing sense. What will now be charged against you is killing. So we need to be extremely careful. Then let us embrace counseling. We need to agree that generations have changed. During our days, I would just look at you with an ugly face. You put yourself in order. Today, you look at a child with an ugly face, she'll also reply back with an ugly face. And at the end of the day, it loses meaning. You tell the child, come here, the child will tell you, let me first finish up what I'm doing. So generations have changed. We need to embrace a lot of counseling and guidance. But then let us involve parents. Let's avoid physical or humiliating punishments. Some of these children are mature. A girl is big enough, senior 6, 18 years, 19. You got her fine with a boyfriend. You now want to address it on the assembly. You bring them in front of the class and you shower them with all sorts of abuses. Now, if this girl only replies with one small statement abusing, I think that teacher will carry the shame in a multiplied form. So let us avoid those embarrassments.
Yeah.
If you can call the child and have a one-on-one chat, much better. Then, early identification and intervention. Most of these children who go to that extra mile or to that extreme point, some of these problems we can be able to foresee. That this boy, maybe let's advise him to try another school. Schools today have so much resorted to expulsions, and parents are not perceiving it right. I am not saying it is the best option, because at one point we need to give them second chance. But when you find it is bound to cause you problems, if you find the case is bigger than what you can handle, give chance to another school to handle by expelling, by advising the child to try another school. Even in the medical field, referrals are a part of the professional conduct. When you find you can't manage a case, you refer. Mukalazi, your case, try Mulago, try Nakasero. At our level, we cannot handle you. So that is very normal.
In the school I went to, they used to say, try greener pastures elsewhere.
Yes, and that was a diplomatic send-off, such that we avoid later confrontations and physical fights. Then, teacher training. I want to emphasize this. Many times when I talk to teachers, they imagine my words are funny, but I keep saying the teaching profession has been invaded. People who are meant to be soldiers are now teachers. By the way, there is this thing I have always taught: professionalism versus personality. You really see someone who was meant to be a soldier, specifically at the battle of time. This is the person teaching our children. Someone is perhaps good in the medical field, but is now in the classroom. Because to be a teacher, becoming a teacher is very easy, but being a teacher, there are so many challenges we go through day in, day out. So we need to continuously train teachers on how to handle certain cases. So that at a certain point, when some of these things come up, you know how to go about it. Managers of schools, directors, feel free, call us. We are ready to talk to teachers. Not everything goes with chibok. And even when you must use the chibok, how do you use it? I've seen parents scold at school, and they also cane children in the same way. At the end of the day, the child is bruised. Then that is no longer punishing. It is now beyond. So we don't want to kill, but we want to allow the child realize that this is wrong. The right thing is this: when you're leaving school, you seek permission. You don't just run. You don't just jump over the fence. When you jump, these are the possible consequences. So was that done? If this child had escaped for maybe 2, 3, 4 times, why do you still keep with such a child? Is it the only school? So there is a lot to handle in there. And there are punishments, crimes that are not handled at a school level, as we have earlier on said. You find the child was almost burning or killing a fellow student. Don't say, I'm going to manhandle you. We are going to fight. Allow the child go away or involve police. So teachers out there, let's be very, very careful with the way we handle children. Children have been raised in different environments under various circumstances. Some, we call them breeders, the children we have. Others are hard-earned through so many mechanisms. Children go through to earn to produce their children. So we need to be extremely careful. We wouldn't love such a scenario that embarrasses the entire profession to be seen in a certain setting. Some of those teachers can end up being jailed. By the way, the ugly side of this, jail. You punish, you kill, or at the end of the day, you're jailed for 3, 4 years because you are trying to inculcate discipline in someone's child.
Even now, you can't guarantee the safety because when human rights groups come up, it might not end well with them.
Of course, it will not.
Because their faces are clear.
Yes, that was beyond what was expected of a child of senior 2. Even if you're to cane, why would you go beyond the 3, 4? And even the strength used, mark you, the case was escapism. The case was not maybe this boy killed someone's child. Even if it was the death, that is beyond what a school can handle.
Mr. Cheyune, in about 30 seconds, kindly give us your parting shots as we wind up this discussion.
Yes, I'm really thankful to Family TV for bringing such talks that really enlighten the entire world, the parents and other educationists out there. I'm ready, and I still carry on the mantle of talking to teachers in schools, talking to children and talking to parents. I extend services. Feel free to contact me on 0776 681566. 0776 681566. We want to raise a morally upright generation. We want to bring all the stakeholders on board, because it takes a whole village to groom a child.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you for this time, and to you, our viewer, we appreciate you for watching us. Cheers to the teachers who received us, took us on as their own children, and they made us the people we are. Find time and celebrate that teacher who did tremendous things in your life. And of course, we wish you a blessed night. I've worked with Didmas and Raymond, Tonena, and we meet again tomorrow as we discuss health.